Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're zoning in on Springfield, Illinois. Now, most people probably think, okay, Abraham Lincoln, and yeah, that's huge, obviously.
Right. You can't talk about Springfield without Lincoln.
But there's actually quite a bit more to it, isn't there? We're talking history, sure, but also some nice nature spots, a surprisingly interesting food scene, apparently, and just, the local feel.
Exactly. And to get a handle on all that, we've looked through quite a range of stuff, local tips, visitor reviews, the usual mix.
Okay.
So the mission for this deep dive, basically, is to pull out the really key things, the essentials you'd want to know about Springfield.
Like a shortcut.
Yeah, pretty much. A shortcut if you're thinking of going, or even if you're just, curious about the place.
All right, let's get into it. And starting with Lincoln, that just makes sense, right? It's kind of ground zero for his story in many ways.
It really is. And the Abraham Lincoln Presidential Library and Museum, that's probably the first stop for understanding that legacy.
What makes it stand out? Is it just artifacts and cases?
Well, it has those, definitely.
Right.
Things from his home, even stuff from the Oval Office. But it tries to do more to sort of immerse you in his time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so you get insights into his presidency, like how he rose to power, and especially how he navigated the incredible oppression of the Civil War.
Right.
And seeing the original documents, the photos, it makes it feel much more real. They might even have, say, a draft of a letter where you see him wrestling with the Emancipation Proclamation, that kind of thing.
Wow, okay. That sounds pretty intense. And we got a practical tip from the sources to try to go early.
Yeah, apparently it gets packed with school groups later in the day, so morning is probably better if you want a bit more space.
Good to know. Okay, so from the big museum, there's also the Lincoln Home National Historic Site. That sounds different.
Yeah.
More personal.
Exactly. This is where it gets really interesting because it focuses on his life before the White House, from about 1844 onwards.
So the Springfield lawyer years.
Right. You're literally walking through the house he lived in. You see his furniture, his clothes, actual personal belongings, all preserved. And the guided tours, they're apparently great for picking up those little human details. Like someone mentioned learning about how he took care of his beard.
Huh, really? That's specific.
Yeah. It just helps you picture him, as a family man in Springfield before everything changed for him.
Makes sense. How long should you figure for that visit?
Sources suggest maybe 1 to 2 hours. Enough time to see the house properly and maybe wander the gardens outside too.
Okay. And then there's the Lincoln Tomb. That feels like a shift back to the monumental side of things.
Definitely. It's at Oak Ridge Cemetery, and it's a really iconic Springfield landmark. The shape, it kind of echoes the Washington Monument,
Ah, I can picture that. Very striking.
Yeah. Inside, it's more solemn. Rooms dedicated to Lincoln and his family. A place for quiet reflection, really.
And the cemetery itself has more to see.
Right, there are other war memorials around. And apparently in the summer, they do this flag ceremony with Civil War reenactors. That sounds like it could be quite moving.
Yeah. Definitely adds another layer. Okay, so Lincoln's presence is obviously huge, but like we said, Springfield isn't just Lincoln.
Not at all.
Let's talk about the Illinois State Capitol, that dome. You can't miss it. Right?
No, it's massive. 405 feet. It's that Renaissance revival style. Very grand.
And you can go inside, see the government stuff.
Yep. You can tour it, see legislative offices, maybe even some, hidden rooms they mentioned. There's historical artwork, too. And you can see former offices of people like Barack Obama when he was a state senator. Adds another layer of history.
And the grounds are good for photos, I bet.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It's a photogenic building.
Okay, shifting gears a bit to architecture on a more, maybe, human scale. Springfield has some interesting examples, right? Like Frank Lloyd Wright.
Oh, absolutely. The Dana Thomas House. That's a prime example of his Prairie School design from around 1902.
Prairie School. That's the style with the long, low lines, lots of horizontal emphasis.
Exactly. Connecting the building to the landscape. And inside, it's all about that flowing space. But you need reservations for the guided tour.
Ah, okay. Why is that essential?
Because that's how you really get to see the interior details, the amazing stained glass, the furniture he designed specifically for the house, the artwork. It's all integrated. It's a whole experience.
Sounds incredible. And then there's a much older house, too.
Yeah, the Elijah Isles house.
Ah.
Built way back in 1837. Gives you a feel for that much earlier period in the Midwest.
Wow, 1837. That's really going back. Okay, sticking with history, but back towards Lincoln's era.
Yeah.
The old state capitol building.
Right. So this is before the current huge Capitol building.
Yeah.
Mid-19th century, Greek Revival architecture, columns, symmetry, very classic looking.
And historically important.
Hugely important. This is where Lincoln actually gave his famous House Divided speech.
Oh, wow. Right there.
Right there. It's a museum now. You can do guided or self-guided tours. It's just a very tangible link to that critical time. And the architecture itself is part of that story,
Definitely. Now, something really crucial for understanding the full picture of Illinois history, the Springfield and Central Illinois African American History Museum.
Yes, this sounds like a really vital place.
Yeah.
It's focused on telling the stories of the state's African American community.
The struggles and the successes.
Exactly. Across all sorts of fields, law, government, arts, you name it. They have interactive exhibits, too, like a Juneteenth timeline and one called Middle Passage, an interactive slave ship experience, which sounds incredibly powerful and obviously very sobering.
Yeah, incredibly important history to engage with.
For sure. They mentioned there might be some construction or expansion happening, so probably best to just call ahead before you visit.
Good practical advice. Okay, and rounding out the museum scene, there's the Illinois State Museum. This one sounds broader.
Yeah, it covers a lot of ground. Natural history, think extinct animals, mammoths, that kind of thing, but also Illinois culture through time.
Pioneer days and stuff.
Yep, artifacts from pioneer life. But also, importantly, it delves into Native American history and contemporary communities in Illinois.
Which often gets overlooked.
Absolutely. Plus, they feature local art, sometimes have artisans demonstrating crafts and schedule talks and events. So it feels like a place you could revisit and find something new.
Okay, let's switch gears now. Enough history and museums for a moment, maybe. Springfield has places for just fun, right? Like Knights Action Park.
Oh, yeah. If you're looking for, water slides and that kind of thing, this is the spot. It's apparently one of the bigger water parks in the state.
What kind of attractions? Just slides?
Slides, yeah. There's one called the Bermuda Triangle. Sounds intriguing. But also a lazy river, a wave pool.
Yeah.
It's the standard fun stuff.
Okay.
But here's a cool retro touch. They have a Route 66 drive-in movie theater there, too.
A drive-in? No way. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Talk about nostalgia. Hopefully the sound is better than those old clunky speakers you hung on the window.
Let's hope so. Okay, so water parks and drive-ins. What about something maybe more hands-on, educational but fun? The Discovery Center.
Right. This sounds perfect for families, but honestly, some of the exhibits sound fun for anyone. It's all about interactive science stuff.
Like what?
Okay, get this. A giant walk-in eyeball. A dinosaur fossil big pit.
An eyeball? Seriously?
Apparently.
Yeah.
Also a Merlin aircraft cockpit simulator. A high-wire bike you can ride. Even a big Lego area.
Okay, that does sound pretty cool. Not just for kids, then.
Seems like it. They recommend setting aside a good chunk of time, like several hours, to really get into everything. I can see why.
Definitely. Now, if you need to calm down after riding a high-wire bike inside a giant eyeball, maybe some nature. The Washington Park Botanical Gardens.
Yes, that sounds like a lovely spot for some peace and quiet. They have a huge collection, over 1,200 types of plants from all over. And a big domed conservatory with tropical plants, which must feel like an escape, especially if the Illinois weather isn't cooperating.
Right, we're in winter.
Exactly. And a huge rose garden, 5,000 plants. Plus, seasonal highlights like cherry blossoms in spring or fall colors. Worth checking out any time of year, it seems.
Nice. Okay, we've covered history, culture, fun, nature. What about food and drink? You can't do a deep dive without touching on that.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
And Springfield seems to have some good local spots. Sources mentioned a couple of restaurants specifically.
Oh, yeah? Which ones?
La Piazza Cucina Italiana. Sounds like good, classic Italian. And then something called Rich's Lil Fryer, which, well, the name suggests something maybe a bit more casual and comforting.
Yeah, maybe fried chicken or fish. Sounds good either way.
For sure. And for coffee or lighter stuff, Soleil Cafe got to mention. Looks like a cozy spot.
And the nightlife. Bars.
Yeah, they mentioned a decent bar scene, some places with live music. And for beer lovers, there's Obed and Isaac's Microbrewery.
Oh, a local brewery. Nice.
Yeah, and get this. They apparently run something called Springfield Beer School 101 on the first Saturday of the month.
Beer school. That's brilliant.
Right, a fun way to try local craft beer and actually learn something about it.
Definitely adds to the local flavor. Okay, so wrapping this up. It really feels like Springfield has a lot more going on than just the immediate Lincoln connection, important as that is.
It really does. You've got the profound history, obviously, with Lincoln sites offering these incredible insights.
Right.
But then you also have these diverse museums, the Capitol building, the architecture.
The gardens, the fun park.
Exactly. And the local food and drink scene, adding another dimension, it feels quite well-rounded.
So our goal here was basically to give you a quick but solid overview, right? Hitting the highlights based on what locals and visitors recommend.
Yeah, sort of a foundation. Enough to get you oriented and maybe spark some interest whether you're actually planning a trip or just wanted to know more about Illinois' capital.
Okay, so here's something to think about as we finish up. Considering everything we've touched on, the deep history, the different cultural spots, the leisure activities, what specific part of Springfield's story or character are you most curious to maybe dig into a bit more yourself?
Yeah. Good question to leave folks with.
All right, that's it for this deep dive. Until next time.